questions from anybody?
Mr. I'll ask you, how important is it, in your opinion, practice over actual gameplay?
Well, 11 years ago, we decided, when I was with the Leafs at the time, and it was coming to the end of a century. This was 1999, 2000. We decided that what we would do is we would create what we called the Open Ice Summit. They carried it on this past summer as well. And I think the idea would be every 10 years to sort of see where we are. We've been playing hockey since 1876, or others would say at other times, but we've been playing a long time, and it's really important at a certain moment to sort of see where we are. And around 1999, 2000, we were doing okay, but not great. And the question is that why, and why aren't we doing better? And the Canadian way of playing hockey was always to play a lot more and practice a lot less, but practice was on the streets, backyards. That's kind of where the informal part of it would come from. And Europeans, it was always, practice a lot more and play a lot less. And the question was, did we have the balance right? And what came out of this conference, and with lots of, Scotty Bowman and all the best coaches were there, and minor hockey coaches, was, no, we didn't have the balance right. That we were playing more and practicing less than we should. And they started to shift that a little bit. I mean, I realize it's uneven across the country, but there's been a bit of a shift in the direction of because in fact, as any of you know, who have played or coached, is that you don't really improve in a game. You apply your skills in a game, but you kind of develop different ways, and the things that you have, you kind of dream of, in your head. You mess around with them in practice, and then if you mess around with them enough and you get better at them, you might even try them in a game. But in a game, you don't usually try out stuff. I mean, it's pretty pragmatic, a game, and that's what you lose out, when we play more than we. I mean, in the end, what has happened is that the Europeans and Americans were kind of better practicers, better improvers, and we were better competitors. I mean, nobody was a better competitor than Canadians because we had played more games than anybody else. We had been in more situations, up, down, wherever it was. We knew how to handle, games and game situations. We were great at that. We still are great at that. And the question is that can we balance that off with being a little better in terms of some of the skills areas. One of the great things to see now is that the NHL, 10 years ago, if you went to the top list of the top 20 scorers in the NHL, probably 15 of them were not Canadians. The Canadian scorers would come in, 25 to 50. The Canadian players were more the solid, two-way players, but the real superstars in terms of skills were the Europeans or increasingly the Americans. Now that's starting to shift. We're doing a lot better, at the top levels in it. And now I think, we're getting that balance better. But it is always the instinct to play more and to practice less. Any last question that will deliver a much shorter answer.
Do you get to play any hockey at all?
Not much. I mean, I live in Toronto and in Ottawa.
What a boring life you're living.
I'm sorry?
What a boring life you're
living. Yeah. And every so often when there's a ball hockey game that breaks out, I'll join it. But otherwise I don't have my skates. My skates will be somewhere else. And it just doesn't happen. That's one of the great things about ball hockey is that you can play it when you're about 4, and you can play it when you're 74. On ice, it's tougher. It's harder to have much fun when you're 4 playing hockey, or at 74 if you're on ice. But ball hockey, you can pretty much do it anywhere, anytime, at any age. And that's kind of good. Any last question? All right, well, I'm going to ask you one. Whose favorite player here? We got the team part of it. Whose favorite player in the NHL now is Ovechkin? Whose favorite player now is Mike Camilleri? Whose favorite player is, I forget the guy's name. What's his name again? Sidney Crosby. Wow. Oh, who's that? Carey Price? Yeah. How many for Carey Price? Oh, wow. That's good. Now, any other sort of suggested name? I mean, who hasn't said a name yet? Steve, yeah, boy, he's really scoring, isn't he? He's doing really well. How many Stamkos? How many one of the Sedins? How many? Kessler in Toronto. Well, there's Kessler in Vancouver. Ryan Kessler in Vancouver. But there's Phil Kessler. Phil Kessler, sorry. Phil Kessler in Toronto. Well, and any last names that anybody wants to throw out? Dion Phaneuf. How many are Dion Phaneuf fans? Oh, wow. Okay. You're a Dion. Who? Evgeny Malkin. Anybody Malkin? Well, yes. Tim Thomas. He is fun to watch. And he's a great story. I hope people know a little bit of the Tim Thomas story. Well, he may be better. I don't know. But Tim Thomas